Scientists releasing their latest projection for the potential of harmful algal blooms in Lake Erie. The report indicates the amount of phosphorus in the lake is enough for some bloom to appear. However, researchers say there's still a lot of uncertainty on the projected bloom severity.
$10 million are on the line in a contest designed to save Lake Erie from toxic algae.
That's right, teams from around the world taking their stab at the solution using tools ranging from filters to safe chemicals.
And only it's not happening in Put-in-Bay or Providence Township. 13 ABC's Todd Gartner and Ben Cathy have the assignment this week in central Ontario.
Inside each of these blue shipping containers is a unique take and strategy on how to solve the phosphorus and hopefully the algae problem. Photojournalist Todd Gartner and I came here to Bradford, Ontario to find what role Toledo played.
It was actually what spurred our initial launching of the prize. So we were looking at about a year-long delay between when we actually launched and when we were hoping to launch. But the crisis in Toledo really spoke to the magnitude of the issue, how it's not a localized problem, but in fact we're seeing it not only throughout the United States, but internationally as well.
The Barley Prize is put on by the Everglades Foundation and also Ohio-based Scott's Fertilizer Company. Right now, they're testing 2,500 gallons of the polluted water per day. But the real question we came to Ontario to find out is, could this scale up to really help Lake Erie? We'll find out tomorrow and Thursday, only on Action News. I'm Ben Cathy, 13 ABC, Action News.
Teams from around the world are competing in a contest to find a solution to the toxic algal blooms in Lake Erie.
They're trying everything from filters to even safe chemicals. And get this, the team that has the best idea will win $10 million.
Meteorologist Ben Cathy and photojournalist Todd Gartner are in Canada this week, tracking this story you will only see right here on 13 ABC.
Inside each of these blue shipping containers is a unique take and strategy on how to solve the phosphorus and hopefully the algae problem. Photojournalist Todd Gartner and I came here to Bradford, Ontario to find what role Toledo played.
It was actually what spurred our initial launching of the prize. So we were looking at about a year-long delay between when we actually launched and when we were hoping to launch. But the crisis in Toledo really spoke to the magnitude of the issue, how it's not a localized problem, but in fact we're seeing it not only throughout the United States, but internationally as well.
The Barley Prize is put on by Ohio-based Scott's Fertilizer Company and the Everglades Foundation. And right now they're testing 2,500 gallons of polluted water per day in this pilot stage. But the real question is, could this scale up to really fit Lake Erie? We'll find out tonight and tomorrow, only on Action News. In Ontario, I'm Ben Cathy. Back to you.
Lake Erie's algae bloom problem, no longer a threat to Toledo. Now blooms happen all over the world, and they're not going away by themselves.
And that's why teams from around the globe have gathered in Canada to compete, all to find the answer. 13 ABC's Ben Cathy and photojournalist Todd Gartner are an hour north of Toronto with the $10 million story.
So why Canada when our problems in Ohio and those putting on the contest are from Florida? Well, as you're about to see, the water here is already green months before Lake Erie wakes up.
So we think this should be applicable technologies in any temperate climate, including Ohio and Michigan and other Great Lakes states.
Ideas go from gravity to ceramics to something called nanoparticles. That's Ed's concept. He has to fit his concept into this shipping container. After all, these can't take up too much space in the real world.
This is actually a commercially available product for arsenic that we're now using to rid our waterways of phosphorus.
And Ed thinks his chances of winning are good.
Simple, passive, no moving parts. It could actually run unattended, and that makes it low cost.
Phil works for the U.S. Geological Survey in West Virginia, a state known for coal mining. His big idea, use a byproduct of mining to scrub out the nasties from river water.
Our process is a very economical method of removing the phosphorus, which means that it could be applied to much larger volumes than, say, a process that uses a very expensive absorption media.
Lauren oversees the George Barley Water Prize for the Everglades Foundation. Think of this spring as the semifinals.
From these 10 teams, 4 will move on to the Grand Challenge, which is stage 4 of the prize, and they will compete for 14 months somewhere in Florida. And of those 4 teams, we are hoping to award the $10 million.
The end of the pilot stage is tomorrow, but it's not just about how much phosphorus you can remove from the water. It's also about economic feasibility, or will this really scale up to Toledo's level? In Bradford, Ontario, with photojournalist Todd Gartner, I'm Ben Cathy, 13 ABC. 9 teams have come from all over the world, China, the Netherlands, and Idaho, here to rural Canada to win a prize. The problem is simple in theory: how to remove a nutrient from this water before it turns green.
The crisis in Toledo really spoke to the magnitude of the issue.
As the bottled water rush spread across Toledo in August 2014, work to create the Barley Prize was happening in Florida to find a fix for us.
There's a lot of businesses that contribute to the problem of nutrients.
Neil works for Toronto-based Econs, but grew up along the Maumee in Napoleon. He thinks local factories that release phosphorus will volunteer to self-treat their water affordably.
I expect it would be much less expensive.
A city like Toledo may not be able to afford the whole fix.
Trying to ask, a small, medium, even a large municipality, okay, you just put in a $10 million plant and all your problems vanish. Well, it's a big undertaking.
So all this material here is to remove the sediment.
And it's got to do so cheaply.
That's one of the factors judges will be picking out: cost. And that's why many teams are capturing that phosphorus to resell it.
The nice thing of these columns is you can regenerate them. So when they're full, you regenerate them.
Miriam Kuiper is a Dutch grad student running 2 of the pilots. They won the first 2 rounds with a custom filter. Another option has roots in the Rust Belt and could be cheaper for towns along Lake Erie.
And it is essentially just a waste byproduct of the steel industry.
This slag comes out covered in phosphorus with a pH of 12.
And that allows our system to automatically dose carbon dioxide into the system.
In the blue box next door, a team from China has lots of experience with algae in their home country.
This particle has a really large capacity and selectivity towards phosphorus.
Greg Moeller uses Toledo's water crisis as a cautionary tale for his classes. The University of Idaho professor taught online by Wi-Fi from his clean water machine. He wants to use these smaller rigs for canals like ours back home.
That account for a large amount of the bulk nutrient that enter ecosystems like Lake Erie. So if we can control it when it's in a small flow, we can allow it to not get into a big flow.
Moeller says it's just not realistic financially to treat for phosphorus at the mouth of a big river like the Maumee.
We think this should be applicable technologies in any temperate climate, including Ohio and Michigan.
If you win the grand prize for the barley, the rule is you got to bring a product to market within 3 years. For photojournalist Todd Gartner in Bradford, Ontario, I'm Ben Cathy, 13 ABC Action News.